Greetings, Taurus. I'm Kyle Pierce. This is the Astrology Channel, and if you were born with the Sun, Moon, or especially rising sign in Taurus, this is your horoscope for the new moon in Libra. The new moon in Libra is going to be really setting the tone for the next 28, 29 days or so until the next new moon taking place in Scorpio. So we're going to be looking at how that impacts you, as well as some of the other astrology surrounding this time period, to really put you in as best of a position as possible to navigate, what's coming up. If you also have your sun, moon, or rising in a different sign or two different signs, I highly suggest that you check out all the videos of your big three. While this video is going to be most specifically relevant to those with Taurus rising, it will also be relevant to those with the sun or moon in Taurus in a more general sense, especially if you have the sun in Taurus in a day chart, if you're born during the day, or the moon in Taurus if you were born at night. So with that, let's dive into the new moon in Libra for you, Taurus. So with this new moon in Libra taking place in your 6th whole sign house, there is a seed of intention being planted pertaining to topics such as your health, more specifically things which may challenge or cause health problems if you don't deal with them. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're having health problems, but it does mean that you are probably a little more focused on habits and activities which prevent negative health outcomes. Maybe you're thinking about going to the dentist or getting a checkup or changing your diet or starting a new exercise routine. The house where this new moon is taking place, the 6th house, is also a house which where you find chores, just things you have to do to sort of maintain your life, like doing the dishes, washing your underwear, all these things that get cut out of, the movie about our life because they're not very interesting and don't necessarily advance the plot in most cases, though sometimes they do. This is kind of 6th house stuff. So this is stuff that you're maybe a little more focused on, that you're maybe getting some ideas about how you want to manage differently, ways that you maybe want to use your time more efficiently or find potentially even help in getting some of those things done, which may be a little more available than usual with Venus also going through your 6th house. So any of these, if you start, implementing new habits over the course of the next month, you may need to adapt them a little bit, or maybe a little harder to make those new habits stick. You have to push a little harder to stick with them, but even if they don't end up sticking, you can use this time to gather information to see, what worked, what exercise plan, even if it only lasted a week, how did it make you feel? Did you feel better? Did you have more energy? Are there ways that you could augment that or work that into maybe a routine that is kind of in flux because other things are changing in your life? Even if it's going to take some time to really build that into a solid routine, it's not worth the effort to try and to test some of these ideas out. Now, the other big topic of concern for you over the next month is within your 7th house, within your personal relationships, your partnerships. And it's possible that around this new moon, during the Mercury-Mars conjunction, which took place on the 20th of October, there could have been some difficult conversations or a need to address complex feelings of some kind, or perhaps some old disputes resurfaced, or perhaps issues which have been kind of just simmering below the surface, which haven't really been talked about, maybe found a voice during this time. And if, some of those discussions were difficult, if you're still kind of figuring out what to do with that information or trying to figure out where you stand, this story isn't over. There's a lot going on within that sector of your chart and a lot pointing towards it. What's going to happen is that even after Mercury and Mars leave Scorpio and enter Sagittarius around the beginning of November, Mercury is going to eventually station retrograde and return to Scorpio and actually return to the same degrees where this Mercury-Mars conjunction took place. So these topics that came up are going to be revisited, maybe without the presence of Mars, which may be helpful. But along with Mercury, the sun is also going to pass through these degrees and participate in this grand water trine taking place between Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, and pretty much all the planets are going to be taking turns, all the inner planets, that is. So Mercury's going to come back, the sun's going to go through, the moon's going to make a couple passes, Venus is going to also show up there. And so you're going to be getting a lot of different angles on whatever complex issues were kicked up. So there'll be a lot of opportunity to find solutions or find new ways of relating to that information. Sometimes the solution isn't always a change, but sometimes the solution is adjusting our expectations or just acknowledging a need that is being unfulfilled and taking steps to fulfill it, or sort out, whose responsibility it is to fulfill that need, which may not necessarily be yours or this other person's. And this will sound a little bit like a digression, but it's actually something I end up having to talk about a bit with Taurus and Libra risings in particular, because both Taurus and Libra rising have Mars ruled seventh houses, and Mars has a particular relationship with the seventh house, which is that it's not Mars's favorite topic to be in charge of. Mars, particularly when placed in the seventh house, can create a lot of challenges to relationships. However, I've seen that Mars in Scorpio is a little different, because as a water sign, Scorpio is very much concerned about relationship and connection, and particularly identifying threats to connection and identifying who is safe to connect to and who isn't. So Scorpio can be a place where we're very suspicious because we're very concerned about the security of connections. So Mars can be a powerful ally in that context when it comes to making sure connections are strong and enduring by sort of identifying the weak points and addressing them and making sure that, everybody's on board. So part of maybe what's happening in your relationships or partnerships is this identifying of the weak points and making sure that you're both on the same page so that you can, take on the world together, right? And sometimes that means, hashing out conflicts rather than letting them boil under the surface. And especially in the part of Scorpio where planets transiting through Scorpio are going to be participating in this grand trine with Saturn and Jupiter. This is where we identify connections to things which are no longer fruitful, but potentially gangrenous, right? Or that maybe need to be severed or maybe need to be let go of or recycled in some way, which doesn't necessarily mean an entire relationship, but sometimes components of it or attachments to ideas about what the relationship should be or could be, or old wounds within that relationship that need to be exercised and or identified and burned in a pile before they infect the rest. So a lot of this maybe uncomfortable work can be very, very productive. And even if a relationship doesn't survive that process, it is usually an indicator that it was already dead, that you didn't want to be attached to it anyway, or that what you wanted from it is no longer possible. So this is a lot of the work that you're going to be doing throughout the next month or two. And so taking the time to have those conversations, taking the time to collect perspectives on it, and really process, what your expectations have been out of your relationships. Are they realistic? Are there things you need to let go of? Are there maybe things you need to stop taking responsibility for? Maybe there are some things you do need to take responsibility for. And a lot of what is likely to come out of it, or where a lot of the solutions are going to come from, is through the sort of little things that you do to nourish and support your relationships on a day-to-day basis. The small little gestures that remind those we're connected with that we are connected, that we care, that we're still here, and that we're still doing it, right? And that's really a lot of what this is going to be about. But yeah, that's mostly what I have for you, Taurus. Again, potentially very productive time, as long as you take the time to have some of those uncomfortable conversations, potentially filter out some of the negativity that could be coming from your friend groups, particularly within your maybe professional sphere, about the prospects of your given profession, which may have some root in reality, but you don't want to get caught up in any sort of negative momentum or get sort of sucked into this negative space, because it's going to be more beneficial for you to bring steadiness and persistence to what you're doing. While there may be changes taking place, there may be genuine disappointments about what is possible within your professional space or your ability to climb the social ladder just now, you're going to benefit a lot more from, riding out these kind of low spots of not being the one to, lose hope when there's pressure or there's kind of a downturn, related to that part of your life. You kind of just got to keep your head up and, keep on plowing, right? You'll be all right. But also, just be aware of when, when it is actually time to move on from something, which you'll know when it happens. But don't listen, don't listen to what everybody has to say about it. Wait till you see the material evidence. Yeah, that's all I got for you, Taurus. Thanks so much for watching. If you are interested in a more personalized reading, or a more personalized look at the month ahead or the year ahead, or really whatever, if you're interested in learning more about your birth chart, you can book a reading with me at KylePierceAstrologer.com. I offer natal consultations. I offer synastry readings. I offer planetary remediation consultations, which are focused on identifying planets which represent certain challenges in your life. And we develop a set of personalized practices for you to get better results out of those planets and the topics of your life which they are associated with. So if that's something you're interested in, you can book a reading with me at KylePierceAstrologer.com. All right, happy Halloween, Taurus. Good luck and see you next time.